That should give
We
you
were
enough for
12 minutes, so.
That's 20 minutes.
That's a bunch of videos right there.
Okay. Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Good job.
We didn't even like read off. We just kept piggybacking.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
We say that until we actually look at the video.
Well, I know. Well, there's a few times we look down, but.
I'm a fidgeter. You probably see me like.
So, how many houses should you look at before you decide to make an offer?
So I don't think that there is a correct answer for that. I think everybody is different. In my experience, only a couple times have I shown a house and they're like, this is it. Most of the time, my clients will look at least 3 houses before they make a decision.
About 3. Is it normally the combination of the things that they've wanted? I mean, you know, as a client will say, I want water, I want this, I want 3 bedroom, 2 bath, or blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, at least in my experience so far, there's not been that perfect house for someone.
Right.
You know, there's always a little bit of that give and take. And so how are you able to, or have you been able to overcome that with buyers saying, okay, well, here's 75% of what you wanted, or 50% of what you wanted, or something like that?
So a lot of times people will start with one idea, and as they're looking at things in a certain price range, they'll see that they don't like those things anymore. So then they'll either go up in price range to find the things that they do want, or we'll just keep looking in different areas. So, you know, I've spent months with certain clients going from one area to the other, and, you know, it just takes time.
Right. Well, and I think that's part of it, is that relationship of finding out what they want, for one thing. What is the most important to you? Is a mudroom the most important thing? Is a big laundry room going to be the most important? Is it, you know, is it going to be a place for children, or whatever it might be that way?
So before I go show, there's a couple things that I like to know first. I like to know if they're already pre-approved or if they have the finances to move forward.
Explain pre-approval real quick.
So there is pre-approval and there's being pre-qualified. So you can go through any mortgage company and get pre-qualified. So what that means is they go through this list of requirements of what you need to be approved.
Incomes, that sort of thing.
Yep, look at your credit score, how much money you're bringing in. And then from there, you can get approved by submitting your documents and the bank actually saying, here's the amount of money that you can work with.
Okay, whether that's 250, 400,000, a million, whatever it might be, that's actually the top amount that they could offer on something, or get a loan for it, whether they're going to put additional cash in or not. But that's what they would be pre-approved up to that amount.
And from there, you should get a letter that says, you know, who is the mortgage company, how much you're getting approved for, and when it expires.
Okay.
From there, I like to make sure that's there first, and then I will have them make me a list of their top 3 needs and their top 3 wants.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So a need is something that you cannot live without. You know, if you have a big family, you cannot buy a 2-bedroom house.
Right.
You know, you need to have that extra space. Having a view. You can live without a view, but you don't want to buy one without it. So to me, that's a want.
Right, okay.
A non-negotiable want. So having these things in order helps me, because they might see some houses on Zillow, but I may be able to find some other houses that they can't see, just based off their search.
So you said non-negotiable want. So that's not a need? So you have needs, non-negotiable wants, and wants as well?
There are wants that people just, I would say they don't need them, but they don't want to even look at properties that don't have them.
At least initially, right?
Right.
I guess, okay, all right. So they want a view, they've come to the mountains, they want a view, and you know, something that fits their criteria, their needs, but it sits in a holler by a creek, and there's really no views around or something like that.
So I had this set of clients, and they were kind of picky about what they wanted. And we looked and we looked and we looked. And I sent them this house here in Sparta. And they said, yeah, we saw that one. We don't want to see it. You know?
They saw it online. They didn't.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I sent them the pictures and I said, no, you guys should come in person and see this one. And they bought it.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they
now, what made that happen? I mean,
I don't know. It was, I guess in the pictures, the layout just didn't really match up to what they were wanting. And then when they saw it in person, they actually got to vision how they would lay it out.
Okay.
So they call me all the time, thanking me, you know, for pushing on that house because they love it.
Okay, good. So have you had many people that have, I mean, in today's climate especially, you know what I mean, there's a lot that swirls around the real estate market now that the prices are too high and, you know, that kind of thing. How much have you run into that couple that is pre-approved for, let's say, $350,000, but they don't want to spend near that amount? You know, we know we can get something good for $250 when we know that everything on the market right now may have a little bit of an elevated price to it. How do you get them to realize the three wants that you have and the non-negotiable, or the three needs that you have and the non-negotiable wants that you have, which sound like needs to me, are not going to match the price in today's market?
So obviously people are going to imagine what they want, and that may not fit in their price range. So what you've got to do is you've just kind of pick some of those elements that fit in their price range and just go show it to them, because pictures can be deceiving. You know, I've been on many showings where people are very excited about the house, and then they get there and they're like, the pictures look much better than the house. And then there's some times where it's reversed. So, you know, if the clients are willing, I would definitely say, if they're on the fence about the house, go see it. Yeah.
Well, and that's, I mean, it leads me to another kind of thing. I've got a set of clients that they looked at something, and I guess it'd been 30 some years since they had negotiated to buy a house. And so as their broker, as their realtor, I was trying to say, look, you're really going to have to decide what your best and final price is up front. And well, we want to offer this for it. So they made that offer, and as their broker, I'm obligated to present that offer. Well, you know, they didn't win.
Right.
And then it happened again. And I'm like, you're really going to have to come today. You know, I know you're trying to hold something back because you think that it's put in an offer, they put in a counter offer, you put in a counter offer, they put in a counter offer, then you come somewhere into the middle.
Right.
And that's not really happening in today's market. It's really just put in your best and final and be willing to walk away from it, you know, knowing that you gave it your best shot.
Right. So when I'm in a multiple offer situation and they call for highest and best, I always tell my clients, go as high as you can to the point to where if you lose this house, you're not going to feel bad about it.
Right.
You're going to say, that house sold for that much? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So
but don't lose it for the $1,000 that you think you're trying to save or something.
Right.
Like that. Yeah. Okay. All right. We had such a good conversation there. Now I don't know what the next question is.
Yeah, that's good.
Talk a little bit about due diligence and earnest money.
So North Carolina is one of the few states that have due diligence money that's not necessarily required, but it's highly recommended. Earnest money is basically saying, I'm willing to set $1,000 to $10,000 to $100,000 into an escrow account. And that escrow account sits with an attorney or an escrow agent and is really protected. But what that has given the seller the confidence that, hey, they're really committed to this house, so they've put money down at least so that they could, so that I'm, well, how do they say it, to take it off the market so that they can have their time to due diligence it. Due diligence money is, you know, as we talked about earlier, the MLS, there's a lot of agents that have an opportunity to sell the one particular house that you may be representing. And with a bunch of people having that opportunity to come in, if you take that off the market during a due diligence period for someone, that could be money that they're losing on potential sale. So due diligence money, it could be as little as $500 or as much, again, as $10,000 or $20,000, or, you know, if they're dead serious, they want that house no matter what, they may go ahead and throw, we particularly put $10,000 down in due diligence on ours. No, we didn't put in 1,000, put 10,000 in that. But anyway.
So if you were to back out of the sale, or your clients were, what would happen to that money in due diligence or earnest?
So due diligence, the owner keeps, or the seller keeps, hands down, no matter what. The escrow money does escrow. No, did I say
Earnest money.
The earnest money. The earnest money, which is in escrow,
Yes.
is refundable, and as long as it's done within that due diligence period. So, and that due diligence period can last 30 days, 45 days, depending. Sometimes it can be extended. You don't really want to extend it, but it can be. But that due diligence is basically saying, I'm willing to give you $500 for you to take this house off the market so that I can really go in and inspect it and decide if it's a house that I want. And if I pull out and say it's not a house for me, then I've paid for the privilege of trying to see if I want to buy that house. But it's a lot less expensive than buying a house that you don't want.
I have clients ask me all the time, how do I know how much money to put in due diligence or earnest money?
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I tell them is, especially if you're getting a loan, you're going to have your due diligence period roughly a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, especially if it's a house, think of it as if you were renting the house for a month.
Mm-hmm.
How much would you pay a month for that house in rent?
That's good. That's a good way to put it.
And that's usually how I like to figure my due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my earnest money, I, as a realtor, will do my best to make sure they do not lose that money.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell them to go as high as they feel confident doing,
Mm-hmm.
because that just shows the sellers how committed they are.
Right.
Because in the end, if they were to back out of contract before closing and
Mhm.
after the due diligence, they would lose that money.
Right.
So as realtors, we just need to make sure that when that due diligence period is coming to an end, we make sure that our clients are 100% sure about the sale,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't lose any money.
Do you find that, say you have the seller, you're representing the seller, and a buyer is coming in, and they decide to put down a large earnest money.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find any difference between someone not putting in very much earnest money or no due diligence, and someone putting in a lot of earnest money and due diligence, that the seller is more open to things throughout that process?
When it comes to the earnest money, it'll all just come down to the other terms of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
So sellers these days are going to be looking mostly at that due diligence money, because
Mhm.
that's money they get to keep
Mhm.
regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Say one person has a quick closing and they offer $500 for earnest,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody else had $10,000 earnest, but they couldn't close until their house sold.
Mm-hmm.
That earnest money isn't going to really play a factor there. They're
Mhm.
going to more than likely go with the quick close.
Mm-hmm.
That way there's less risk.
Okay.